My name is Adonis. I am the full stack developer of the Mixkit project. I'm a tutor, and a big issue I run into with students is that there's just a lot that goes into setting up a repository, at least at their level, especially when they're working with block coding languages. The way that block languages are stored is just very difficult to read and not particularly useful either. There are a few different kinds of block coding platforms. Minecraft Education. Another is Lego Education, where users write block code to control their Lego robots. And then Scratch is the big one. So many users use this platform to upload their different projects. The main idea of how we simplify this is reframing the branches, commits, pull requests, etc. And we kind of borrow some Scratch terminology of remixes, and we just let users upload different remixes of the same project, with further functionality down the line being maybe you can see the diff between files, you can merge different remixes. That's the idea. How we used Claude for student code feedback. The AI integration feature is having Claude understand this unconventional code format and returning some structured feedback. All of this is live. Feel free to check it out. You can even come into this specific project here. All open source. Definitely come check it out. Okay, so here's the problem that I kind of already touched on a bit. It's this dense and unconventional format here. So if you're unfamiliar with block code, this would be the equivalent of like the print statement. A when flag clicked is just how Scratch says when this program starts. And then each of these blocks you could think of as a different function that you're calling. And if you look very closely at how it's stored, you can actually find where the string is. Everything's here. It's just not easy to eyeball. I've set up GitHub repositories with students before. Getting to this point, uploading the project JSON, it's not satisfying. If you have collaborators, it's not clear like what this new PR does. Let's just send all of this to Claude and see what it can do. Our baseline here is about 19,000 tokens of project JSON. If you know any of these platforms, most student projects are like a few lines of code here. For our average finished student project, about 19,000 tokens. I calculated a featured project to be 10 times what the average project is here. So there's some examples on the right of projects that have been played and I guess approved by a large number of students here. So in initially working with this feature, the rate limit for our tier of Claude was 30,000 tokens as the input rate limit per tokens per minute. And so that's less than 2 requests per minute. Anthropic did make changes to increase the rates of all the tiers. That was no longer an issue. The real issue was the quality of the feedback and then the cost. So the first optimization I made was converting this large project JSON file into a more readable pseudocode. The pseudocode really is just like a Python formatted version. And so the idea behind this is that Claude is best with Python. Claude is good with all languages. Anthropic specifically calls out Python as what Claude is best with. The bigger the project is, the more you save by converting it to pseudocode. With all that said, the cost of this largest request is down from almost 60 cents to about 9 or 10 cents here. You could think a average project is getting down there to like 1 to 2 cents, even less than a cent. In most cases, even though it has a better understanding now, it still gets caught up on a few things consistently, anything that's Scratch specific. Okay, so the last thing to mention is we gave it these parameters. We said return a string of what works well, return an array of suggestions, and optionally return an array of logic issues. In the description of this tool we give it is telling it to analyze the project in plain text first. This way you're also not limiting its analysis to a structure here, right? As opposed to if we added an analysis field to the schema that was just like, analyze the project in 1 to 2 sentences. Another thing to draw attention to is that this doubled the time per request. When we thought about it more and compared it to, something like Claude Code, if you asked it to review your full repository, you would love if it did that in 30 seconds. Here's kind of how the testing process of this worked. The more common issue we ran into is just misunderstandings of Scratch's engine. This is a bit more involved, especially with thinking about using other platforms in addition to Scratch. All of these are going to have these these engine specific things, right? That Claude may or may not know. If you are not certain, just leave it out, right? We don't want any false positives, especially at this age range that we are making this app for. Like, you don't want to tell a student that they've done something wrong and then they are looking for that and never find it. Like, that is very frustrating. And then there's some cases where you just get a bad response sometimes. Temperature is something that is deprecated in a lot of these newer models now that they have this like adaptive thinking, right? In the version we're using of Sonnet, we do have control over the temperature here. So just setting that to 0, and then just a lot of A/B testing between, let's change the wording of this prompt a little bit this way and see what happens. So let's actually see this in practice here. So let's get out of this. Here is Mixkit. Here I just have this print statement that I showed earlier. You know, these are trivial, but the point of all these optimizations is that we should be able to take any project. And let me actually pull up console.claude here. And let's go to our logs. Find a relatively complicated project here. What about this one? This one just sticks out to me as like, is there anything to this? Okay, cool. So this is like a full game here. It's got about 54,000 views. It's got a lot of likes. People seem to really like it. Let's look inside. Cool, we see is there a good amount of code here? Seems like there's a good amount of code. Awesome. So our interface lets you just copy a link, and if it can find the ID in it, it should just import it. Sweet. Let's kind of limit this description a bit here. There we go. We can see this long project data. And keep in mind, this is all we gave it here. So we gave it this short description, gave it this title, and then we gave it the pseudocode. And so from these 3 things, let's see what it came up with here. The chemistry content here is genuinely impressive. 35 real compounds, correct element ratios, a physics-based beaker with momentum, a live system with explosion effects, and a cloud high score, all working together as one polished game. That's a huge amount of careful work. And yeah, like from my 30 seconds of, you know, messing around with it, that does seem like what the project is. That's good. Let's see some of these issues. Ghost effect overrides the collected dim effect. Interesting. Okay, so these are some pretty high level issues actually. This is a big project, and so the person who made the project and has worked in this code base would know what this means, but let's see if we can still gather enough from it to see what it's trying to say. So it's saying the dim effect gets wiped out, and this is in the chalk elements here. So chalk elements is here. So specifically, it's talking about this block here. Ghost is transparency here. So it's setting transparency to 50. It's darkening it. This is getting overridden for sure, right? Like, if this case happens, it's setting this to 50. That's being overridden by toggle. Toggle is 0. So yeah, it sounds like that is, I'm messing with stuff. So we are now in the localhost, the developer build of this, with 2 things to look for here. So first, we want to see if the feedback is consistent. We also want to see how it actually looks in the logs here. We've got about 40 seconds of latency, so 35 actual chemical compounds are coded with correct formulas. Where's the compound costume? Is it this? It's this. So there are 35 of these. We see this project fell below a featured project and above an average. So 13,000, and then the output we got 1,500. And then this would be the analysis here. So if we scroll up, we see the pseudocode we gave it. And then let's look for the analysis. So let me analyze this carefully before submitting feedback. So actually, it seems like it was correct about this, but just explained it kind of weirdly. So yeah, the ghost would be reset to toggle value. This means the collected atoms appear darker but not ghosted. That is actually exactly, yeah, like it's not. So it seems like they made some change last minute that they don't want the ghosting and left it in the code